What's up, demons and demonettes? Tis I, Traxy Demon Queen, and today, we're once again going to be talking about, that's right, Faramor. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. Alright, so today we're going to give our final thoughts and grade on Faramor after seeing it almost through a full cycle of Dream Realm. And we're going to talk about it at like 3 points, right? So we're going to look at him on my main roster where he's Paragon 2. And we're going to look at him on my second account roster where he's Supreme +5. And then we'll talk about him where he's like Mythic on my VN account, kind of in the early season before we hit Endless in Dream Realm. Alright, so one of the questions I think people have come up with is how much can I invest in Faramor? Like, what's the minimum, right? Because there's a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of banners still coming, right? Because we've got Faramor, we've got Shamira, and then we have the collab coming up here in less than a month. So there's going to be a lot of banners in a very short amount of time. We don't know what the pull rates are going to look like on those collab banners, and they could be very, very short. And then we only have a couple more weeks until Shamira drops. So evaluating this hero now is very important. While his banner is still up, and how he's going to compare to the others, potentially down the road, and how much value will he really have. So let's take a look at a Dream Realm. So here we're going to take a look at him at a +5. He's number 1 on Stomper, which is good. He kind of flopped on all of the other bosses. We still have to test him on Lone Gaze, but based on a VN testing, he did look good on the VN side. Now, what I wanted to show here, and why we're on the second account, and we're going to look at him at the +5, is we can kind of get an idea of how much damage he's doing at +5 here on Stomper. Right, this is Ideal Charms and all of that good stuff. So we can see he's doing 42, right? So let's keep that in mind, and then we're gonna go, well, switch over to a main account, and then we can talk more about him there while that's logging. And we'll go ahead and we'll talk about like the free-to-play side. Now he's still doing very decent. Here we are in pre-endless. Alright, so you can see this is my best squad, it looks like, for Stomper. And I am using Faramor. Now here he is not out DPSing my Supreme plus Odie plus 10, but he is still doing a fair amount of damage on this boss. I was a little surprised because he was out damaging him on a lot of the other bosses when I ran him there. See, he's really good on Shellbrute on pre-endless. He was pretty decent here on Plague Creeper. And again, this is only at a legendary loss. We have him here on Orson. He's doing pretty well. As you can see, we had a better parse there when we ran without Sonya. Versus McCullough. I was doing some testing there. On Crystal Beetle, we have all 3 of the big ones this season, all on the Steam, and he out damages them all here, right? So he's doing really, really good in pre-endless, where obviously can't run him on Thalassa, and he struggles a little bit on Lucia. So he's not necessarily our best option here for Lucia. But you can see here on pre-endless, he is doing great numbers on Lone Gaze. Alright, so we can take a look at here. So remember, it was 42 at Supreme +5. Alright, and let's go into Dream Realm here. Now we do have the number 1 top squad. As you can see, he actually does less damage here. Yeah. Not too shocking. Here is a better par, so he does 40 here. So yeah, just some things changed in this squad versus the other squad, but as you can see, he is very high in damage, and it looks like, you know, he kind of suffers if we build him up a little bit too much, which is kind of frustrating and annoying, but I think it's just the way that the squad comp works, that he's doing a little bit less damage here. The other one's geared for him to do a little bit more damage, but it is a little more heavily reliant on him than the Harak Cryonaya added in. So yeah, so meta on Stomper for sure, certainly runnable at Mythic Plus or Supreme Plus, +5, a very strong hero. Ideally, you would want to obviously get him to +10. If you can. That's kind of like that nice spot for the free-to-play side that I found. I know it's a little bit more costly to go from the +8 to +10, but more times than not, it's worth it to unlock that second skill on the EX weapon, right? Okay. So he's really good there. Again, floundered on all the other ones in Endless, but was really good Endless. So let's take a look. Now we know that, like, Odie's charm set is doing a lot of the heavy lifting on his damage. Same thing with Sinbad, they have the same set. The question is how much of the heavy lifting on his damage is Faramor's set really doing, right? Because we've seen it, I've seen it on all the other accounts. I always had this mythic set, always had the arcane charms, so it's a little biased, I think, in that area. But definitely meta on one boss, probably going to be meta on two bosses. Is that enough for a must-have pull? I don't know. That's, to me, if I want to say that they're a must-have hero, you know, it's like they got to be like at least 3 to 4 bosses, where they are meta there. As for PvP, yeah, I don't like him that much in PvP. I think part of the problem is if we go and we'll take a look at Brownie actually attacking me, is that he doesn't work well. Like in that, depending on your server, if you're in that like Paragon S+ to Paragon 2 range, he seems to be pretty decent, especially at that S+ Paragon 1 range. He combos well with Siren. I just found that the problem is at that level and Paragon 4, it throws the timing off and he's not very good. And then we can see here where Brownie keeps either pairing him up with a Dianelle or a Lily May as well, and it just doesn't work. Part of the problem with the comp is that he's too reliant on this one hero to try and kill this team, where we already have that hero. Yeah, we're not getting them the stacks like he's getting stacks on Lily May here, but as you can see, it doesn't really affect the outcome. So if he's just there to buff your primary DPS and he's not adding any other value to the team, that's not very good. And that's what it seems like he does in these higher end comps, right? So we'll look at the Dio comp because I think that's the best example, better than the Lily May. So let's go back and find one. All right, so here we can see where he's going to run with Dio. So the idea here is you're going to get Dio instant stacks, which is going to trigger a Dio's X weapon, and do a good chunk of damage. However, it's right off at the start of battle, and between our Ludovic and Kaelin, we just kind of like, you see, negate most of the damage anyway. And then our team just shreds him, and Faramor adds nothing really to the team. And Dianelle is too slow to do anything else. And the other squad, it's very similar to that. So I don't know. I use him in my roster. I have him on my Supreme Arena. I'm just testing it out this week. I don't know if I'm going to get attacked. What I did was I rejiggered some of my teams for the maps this week, right? So I decided, okay, let's slide Faramor in and let's give him a trial run. I don't think he's going to be too good here. I'm using him to buff Lorson in this squad and get the talent dial, right? Because then on this map, then I can run the heavy conceal squad with Athalia that pretty much one-on-one This squad is amazing. It'll beat any of the Vanguard squads that are out there. The problem is it gets like destroyed in the Clash of Fronts melee. Now I am using Faramor in my Clash Fronts team. Or even in my recommended that's out there on Yap, we have him out there. So as you can see, this is my recommended on Yap. I tweaked it a little bit for mine just because my stuff is already all out there. But you can see we're using Faramor to buff Dianel, and the team does pretty decently for me, and it's doing okay this round. Again, it's strong in Vanguard and decent in the melee, and good at clearing out some of those weaker teams, right? I've seen it clear out anywhere from 6 to 12 in the melee on any given day, depending who we go up against. So he's decent for that. That's a little bit too niche for me for PvP. We'll see how the Supreme Arena team plays out. I don't expect to get attacked much, and I don't think he's going to be very good without that talent tile there. So I think depending on what the wilder talent tiles look like next season, he could drop off for PvP, which means I wouldn't recommend putting Paragon levels on him like at high amount. As for stages, I don't know if I got past any of the stages with him in it, but we're seeing more of him in these high-end records. I don't think he's in this stage, but we're seeing more of him at these higher-end stages. Now, he is a replaceable, so you can run without him. He isn't required for stages like some of these other heroes that we have, like Tassie is right now, Aaron, obviously, Almas, Bonnie, the twins, Harak, all heroes you really need to progress pretty far. You can kind of get by without Faramor. He is kind of nice to have. Again, Supreme Plus, fine for stages, so if you build him for Dream Realm, you'll be fine here. Definitely going to need him for a Ravage Realm at the end of the season. Wilders don't really have those big boss killers. In Traditions, we have a Lily May, who's really good, but we don't really have a second after that, so having a Faramor is going to be big. So if you care about ranking in a Ravage Realm, you are going to need Faramor for that. Now, like I said, he is really good in pre-endless, so that's something to consider as well when we talk about bossing, which, you know, we had the issue with Sinbad, where Sinbad kind of looked like a bust for Dream Realm, and a lot of people didn't pull him, and then the next season, he's meta because, yeah, he is actually really good, and pre-endless, people didn't see it. The issue then becomes is how long is pre-endless going to last, right? This last season, it was only 3 weeks. The season before, it was maybe a month. Yep, that. So we spent less than 25% of the time in pre-endless. So, you know, if you feel like you can get by without building him for pre-endless, then you could probably pass on him. And if you don't, you know, you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to have to give up on 2 bosses. And, you know, you're not already having to give up because you don't have Harak built. Then, yeah, you could pass on him for Endless, thus making him a somewhat passable character. So, you know, I can't say that he's necessarily a must-have. I think he's just really nice to have. He dances that line. I think if you are someone who spends a little bit, you want to build him to Supreme plus 10 at a minimum. That's just because that's going to help you maintain your ranks in a Dream Realm. That's going to help you out in pre-Endless Dream Realm at the beginning of next season, and it's going to help you out on Endless or Ravaged Realm this season. It's also worth mentioning that he does fairly well in Battle Drill at this time. It's another boss. Yes. Is it a boss that people care about? Not really. Most people just do this to get rewards. I know for like our guild, I even stopped reporting for the global rankings because I just didn't see the point at this time anymore. But we can go ahead, or we can take a look. I can go find one of my I run him on my 3rd team. I replaced Lenya with him. Essentially, that's not gonna be it. It's gonna be down here a little bit further. Right, so you can see he does fairly decently on the Grim Executioner. He worked well on Merrily as well. I suspect had I gotten to use him on Aaron, since he does a lot of true damage, he would have done well on Aaron. So one of the things that helps him out for bossing is that he is like the Energizer Bunny. He ults and he just keeps going and going and going and going. So I think the best way to show it is we're just going to show it on this fight here. It's going to be a little bit hard to see. So we're going to do like normal speed. Alright, so you can see now he's got full energy, so he ults here. Right, now you're going to see this circle is going to stay up almost the entire fight. And if not the entire fight. And then, he's never going to drop below full. So like you see his energy is still up there. Alright, so we're just gonna speed it up because now that he's got his ult, we know where kind of he is. He's here. We can watch him. You can see his energy bar just kind of like keeps going back up and up and up. Being in with the twins helps that the twins do add energy to him. He got frozen. He got broken out real quick. So he never stops casting his ult. And then you can see he buffed Harak, which is nice. So you see he ult. So what's nice and why he works so well on Stomper is Stomper silences everybody, but if he already has his ult going, it doesn't matter. So he just keeps going and going and going. And why is him having his ult up almost all the time good? Well, one, after a certain amount of time, he's going to get the bonus from his charm set, right? He's going to get this. So he's going to do a 50% increased damage with his ult. And then he's also going to trigger his EX weapon. Faramor replaces his normal attacks with a Glorious Embrace while his magic circle is active. So it's active almost the entire fight. So on these static bosses, he's always going to be doing true damage, right? So if you get his skill charms, this is 380% now, right? Because we have his skill charm of his attack, then we beef up his attack with the arcane charm. The shield doesn't matter so much. It's the fact that he's doing all of this true damage all the time. So, yeah. Because he'll always have has a non-active permanent stat boost from his allies. Pretty much. So, he's almost always doing true damage with this ability, and yeah, it's just a crazy combination. So you can see how he's going to be very effective with that ability, and then his ult being on all the time adds in a ton of damage as well. So that's just why he's really good for bossing, but it doesn't work on these non-static bosses so much. Right, so that's why, like, Lucia gives him problems. Orson can give him problems, so we'll see. My only concern is that they did retire 2 bosses at the end of last season. And the 2 current oldest bosses that are up are, well, they actually retired 4. And the 2 oldest that are up are Stomper and Lone Gaze. His 2 best bosses are Stomper and Lone Gaze, which just does make it a little concerning. So basically, you're pulling him for just 1 month of the season, maybe a month and a half now. At that, because we should be getting the new season in like a month or a month and a half, I would expect. But yeah. So the question is like I said earlier, I think he's a little bit passable if you don't care about the ranking that much for 2 bosses and for Ravaged Realm. Like I said, he has the potential for pre-endless next season, but it may not last that long. So I don't know if you want to invest in a hero for essentially what's going to be for maybe 2 to 2.5 months of time. It is a significant investment. There are the other big heroes coming out. Now, if you do care about your rankings there and you don't want to drop, or you want an advantage on the people that do drop and don't pick them, you can easily, like I said, just build them to Supreme, build them up to +5, and then just once he moves over to the general pop, just throw him on your wish list right away. If you don't pull for him, then when he goes to general pop, just throw him on your wish list right away. You'll definitely want him there. By now, you should probably have your Omens belt, and your Arden belt, or your Damien belt. One of those three should be built. So you may be looking for that next Wilder A-tier hero to build. If you have an older account, you can just probably throw him on the wish list as soon as he moves over. Anyway, it'll just take a little while longer to build him there. You could also, if you have Valka built, since Valka has a little value in Dream Realm at this time, you could swap Valka to Faramor. You're just going to want some copies of Valka because she will be big for Ravage Realm. But again, like I said, it's the same thing with Faramor. You're basically pulling them for one game mode at this point, right? So yeah, swap ticket, definitely Valka to Faramor is the better way to go. Keelan is also another option if you did build him. The only exception is that Keelan is very, very solid and very, very good for PvP as a ranged tank. So he's someone that, depending on how things shift next season, you could probably squeeze him into your Supreme Arena, because what he does in the form of range tanking is very unique, right? Because compared to all the other tanks, they always tend to rush up, whereas Keelan just truly just sits there and creates a bubble around your ranged heroes. That's why I use him a lot in Arena. And Supreme Arena is because he's very unique in that we run a lot of ranged heroes at this time. Again, that's why Faramor struggles. But again, Keelan is another option if you do have Keelan at a low investment, because Keelan does need a high investment to be run in PvP. So if you're running at like Paragon 2, he needs to be at a minimum Paragon 1 or Paragon 2. He's not so strong that you can run him at Supreme Plus with Paragon 2 or Paragon 1 even, and that'll be effective. I think he needs to be Paragon 1 or higher. So that's going to be it for this one. Yeah, mixed feelings definitely on this hero. Definitely for me, easy to, you know, hey, Supreme Plus, get him, got him, good. We can just let him sit there. I built every hero to +20. That's going to have bossing abilities anyway. So we're just going to leave him here. At the Paragon 2, I swapped him with Valka just for PvP testing. I was disappointed. I didn't give up my Supreme Plus Valka in doing so. Could have just left him at Supreme Plus, I think, and we would have been fine. So that's going to be it for this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!